Okay, remember that they're changing my voice? I'm not gay. I could never be gay. And obviously, it is wrong to pretend that gay people are the same as straight people. There are differences. And it's sad that the people on the various sites want me to tiptoe through the tulips about this issue. But it's clear that when we look at politics, the two major forces that are really bringing down the world, they really finished off the world. The world is just going to get worse and worse and more rotten, and the evil is going to fester and become more disgusting over time. The two major forces are white supremacy, right? White and Jewish supremacy, kind of white skin supremacy, and LGBT Satanism. Okay. Basically, to make a long story short, when you look at the Satanic Temple, a lot of times you see gay people, right? Rainbow flags. You look at, every group these days, they're like gay washed. I have pictures of the kind of pink Baphomet statue or some kind of thing of that nature. That makes it clear that that's what these people believe, right? They're responding to the idea that straight people don't approve of LGBT people. And believe it or not, the churches, the mosques, and the synagogues, and it's hard to really prove that definitively, but it's clear that that's the case. They were basically made by LGBT people. When you think about the trade routes, right, that created Islam. Well, before Islam was Christianity, but there was also major trade routes, right? The trade centers, rather, that created these things, trade centers and trade routes. And before that was Judaism, also in a very key position, right? The place right before you enter Egypt as people are trading with each other. So where the Indus Valley Empire, right, Harappan Empire, traded with Egypt, okay, they had to go through Canaan, right? So-called Israel. And so that's a huge part of it. Okay. But this video actually isn't about why these religions aren't valid, though that's an important part of the ending of my story. Because I am I have various health effects, negative health effects from years of fuming. And I can't wait to finally pass over and be with God Almighty. Especially if there's a bunch of immature gay people, LGBT people that try to interfere with my videos. They use technology, believe it or not, to try to put words in my mouth. They use fumes and poisons. But at the end of the day, just like I would say 1 + 1 is 2, it's basic arithmetic, I would say these things, but in words that are my own words. Okay, the truth, and telling the truth is what I do. Okay, so a bunch of crazed, racist Jews, in the tech community, a bunch of LGBT people, right? A bunch of racist white European royals, English royals, what have you. They can't change that. They can just increase their disgrace. Now, when we think about the various cultures that dominate the world, Western culture is one of them. We see that in politics, most people would agree when we're talking about politics, that they embrace the principles of evil to try to accomplish things, right? They do things behind the scenes instead of telling the truth. They use propaganda, and people live propaganda lives. They date and they marry and so on and so forth. And it's really taken its toll over the years as they colonize the world and as they maintain their values and principles for years and years, right? A lot of people worship the deity of Set, and they don't think it's a bad thing. And some of them will admit it, that the word whites is a play on word for why Set. Why colonize? Why rape? Why kill? Why try to force people to do things your way? Why lie? Why pretend you care about the Constitution? Why this? Why that? It all goes back to that. Set, Baal in the Bible. Judeo-Christian culture. Well, who were the Jews in their own story? There are people who worship Baal, who was the Middle Eastern equivalent of Set. Now somebody said, no, they didn't. They worship Yahweh or whatever, right? The Elohim. But that's not the case. Read the Old Testament again carefully. These people killed Isaiah the prophet, Zechariah, on and on and on. Why? Because they worship Baal. There was brief moments where, in principle, Elijah is said to, conquer Jezebel and the prophets of Baal and so on and so forth. But that's not what the people as a group believe. In Isaiah 57, it says they're screening out the righteous and that God's allowing it so that they'll be spared from evil. So the Jews as a grouping of people, right? Corpus, corporation, uniform, form and uniformity, a collection, a formation. They worshipped in the Old Testament Baal, and they screened out whatever people who are trying to be righteous according to their own story. If you think that's anti-Semitic, well, make your case. These are the facts here. We have to ask ourselves, how did we get here? When we teach about slavery as an anti-white, we teach about World War II as an anti-German. We teach about the Jews who were some of the main communists, who elevated Stalin and Lenin and all these guys. Okay, is it anti-Semitic? We talk about how the Jews said, give us Barabbas. Is the Bible anti-Semitic? It's sad that I even have to explain. It almost sounds like political, right? Where he says, they say don't be anti-Semitic. No one wants to hear this stuff again and again, but this is part of the story. In order for me to tell you the Jews' part in betraying the Son of God at the end, I have to kind of take you through this kind of explanation, or else the people on the site might be like, oh my gosh, he's being anti-Semitic. So we have to make that clear-cut distinction and remind you that I have many videos, and to this day, I can't think of a single time when someone said, hey, you're being anti-Semitic, or that's racist, or that's racist against the Jew. I can't think of it. I don't think the government workers who've been assigned to this case could think of it either. I don't think it's occurred. So I have thousands of videos and no one says, hey, that's racist, but then, hey, you're being anti-Semitic. I don't think anyone would even accuse me of that. Okay. So I'm glad that I didn't conform to the world, because the world is like a mix between Rome and Greece, these very pagan, erotic desire, kind of LGBT, kind of ruthless, greedy places historically, and the Jews who worship Baal. Okay? Remember, the righteous are being taken away. Before Christ is born, it's a process that's occurring. And when Christ comes around, there's not a bunch of other prophets doing the right thing. Everyone's doing the wrong thing. Every single Jew in the story, when Christ came in the story, was doing the wrong thing. So you tell me, who do they worship, God or Baal? They worship Baal. You know them by their works. Beware of false prophets. So the Bible is about, the New Testament is about Jesus recruiting people who were worshiping Baal and turning them into people who worship God, right? 12 disciples. And then him being killed as well as his disciples. Christians didn't take over the world in terms of what you think of when you hear the word Christian, right? In a kind of benevolent sense of the word. Baalists took over the world. A cabal, right? A conspiracy. Okay? A group of aspiring people. Okay? And it wasn't just the Jews, right? The Jews, the Romans, the token minorities, the Greeks. I mean, if you don't know this, you're like lost in life. You're way lost. I mean, you're lost either way because you're not obeying God through me, but you're way lost. Do you think God-fearing people took over the world? Yes or no? Put in the comments. I'd love to hear your explanation. Because to this day, there hasn't been a single sane explanation in regards to people who claim that magically God-fearing people, magically, against all odds and against all logic, magically took over the world. There hasn't been a single sane and rational and logical explanation to that effect. So because they're not God-fearing, because they're not even trying to be moral, they're just playing the game, right? Jockers, skaters, rockers, rappers, thugs, corporate guys, populars, emos, anime, they're all disassociating. They're reinventing themselves. Snoop Dogg, that's not your name. Axl Rose, okay, you've reinvented yourself as a rock star, and your fans are following suit. You're popular in Neo-Greco-Roman culture. You reinvented yourself as a member of the new Greek and Roman culture.